Welcome to the Happy Mindset, episode 148. Today's episode is called The Creative Radiologist. Today I'm joined by Dr. Chris Herzig. Dr. Chris is a radiologist based out of California. On today's episode, we're talking about how he's been exploring his creative side over the last few years and how it's culminating now in a new book called Ocean Animals, which he's been working on with Davey Villalobos, the illustrator for this podcast, and with Lisa Caprilli. How the three of them have been working on this book. We talk around Chris's life experiences. He had an interest in marine biology. Growing up in California, he was near the beach. He could see the animals. He took an interest in that. It became a passion of his. He explored that for a while, but then he let that go to pursue a path in medicine, which was more stable and a bit more structure and stability for him. So we're talking around how marine biology has crept back into his life again now in a creative way with these books, this Ocean Animals book, which is part of the Unicorn Jazz series. It's a children's book series that Lisa's been working on over the last few years. It's been growing in size every year. Glad to see the progress they're making with that. And yeah, today's episode is about how somebody who's in the sciences, somebody who's interested in technology, can also explore creativity on the side, how he makes time for that, and how they complement his life in different ways. So that's what we're exploring today. So yeah, that's it. Thanks again for listening, and I'll speak to you in the next episode. Okay, so thanks for joining us today, Chris.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dennis.
My pleasure. So my first question for you is, who are you and what are you doing in the world today?
I am Chris Herzig. I'm a radiologist, a licensed doctor in the United States. I live in California, beach town, Huntington Beach, California. And I've been living in California my whole life. And I've been a doctor for about 20 years out in practice in Los Angeles area.
And so today we're talking about creativity as well. That's something new that's come into your life recently, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I wouldn't say I was born creative. I think it's in me, and it's slowly coming out. My normal job as a physician doesn't really seem to be that creative on the outside. Mm-hmm. It seems to be very regimented by the book. Follow the rules, learn the rules, follow the rules, and treat people, with some sort of science. Yeah. And traditionally, it seems like it doesn't really have a lot of creativity to it, but actually, in real life, it does. You really can't treat people like a formula. You can't treat people like a textbook. You learn that once you're out in practice, that everybody's different. Everybody doesn't follow the textbook. And you kind of do have to be a little creative when you are treating patients or, diagnosing patients. And I've learned that it's not really that cut and dry. So I bring that to what I'm doing with Lisa and the children's books, in that I try and bring my science background and have a creative flair with the science. So I'm not strict science.
Now, how do you find that helps? So you've got a science background, which is you have to be precise when it comes to science. How does the scientific background actually help you in a creative way? Do they complement each other in any way?
Well, I think they have to go together. I mean, to make it work, if you're too strict on the science and too strict on the rules, you get boxed in, and life really isn't that simple. I think there's a lot of creativity intermixed between everything. So for instance, I'm a radiologist, so we are always diagnosing people with the use of X-rays, ultrasound, MRI, and you get a feel for what normal looks like. And then when I start looking at the images, no matter what kind of modality I'm looking at, you kind of get an idea for what is a variation of normal. There's no one normal. There's no just that's blue. That's always right. There's always a million shades of it. So on normal, there's a million shades of normal, and you kind of have to understand and get used to that's one of the normal looks. And then what's most important is you have to really kind of understand when it's not normal. It's like there's a million normal looks, but that's not one of them. That's one of the that's one of the looks on someone's imaging that is not fitting with my normal pattern. I might not know exactly what it is. You might not be able. Sometimes you can point to it and say that's this XYZ disease exactly. Sometimes it's not. It's like I know it's not normal. It's something, and then it could be a matter of 5 different disease processes causing that look. So that's where the creativity comes in. It's like, I can creatively think that it's a patient that's not looking normal to me, and I can creatively make a story of it could be any of these 5 diagnoses, making that pattern. So
Okay. Yeah.
it doesn't really play out into children's books, but I think my mind is adaptable in that way, in that I can think outside the box.
With how long do you think it kind of got you to get a feel of what a normal image looked like for you, looking back on it?
I think it takes years. I mean, we do the training over about 4 years of different things, of using X-rays, ultrasound, MRI, CT scans, all kinds of imaging. And in training, you're in a hospital and you're looking at the imaging every day with someone who's obviously more senior than you and has been doing it for many, many years. And they mostly kept teaching you, like, nope, that's a normal. Don't get fooled by that. That's something you're going to see. 1 in 100 chest X-rays, you're going to see that, and you're not going to call it a disease. It's this, and you just kind of get used to it. So the volume that you see trains you to pick that up.
Do you feel like emotional regulation is important, that you don't jump the gun on things? And
it is, yeah. I mean, sometimes the emotion is good to, if it triggers you to if you see something that's very alarming, it's good to be a little triggered and raise the bar and get the other doctors in charge of this patient, or that are working on the team, to understand how serious it is. But you don't want to cry wolf all the time. You can't. I mean, we do have some people that do that. Everything's abnormal, and then the referring doctors just don't get a good read, because everything you say is alarming. You really have to say, oh, it looks, this film looks abnormal, but it's something that is probably old. It's probably some scarring from previous disease. It's probably not something that's going to hurt the patient today. So yeah, you have to know when it's time to raise the alarm, and when it's like, I see something, but it's not that bad. Just like when you're talking to a patient, when we do talk to patients about disease, they're really scared. They don't really understand what's going on. A lot of people don't have a handle on science or medicine. They're coming in because they're not feeling well. And if you tell them that they have a tumor, to them, that means they have cancer and they're going to die. It just goes straight up the ladder. To me, a tumor is just something that's abnormal. It could be a tumor, could be a something that's benign. It's not really a cancer. It could be a little nodule of tissue that is not going to kill the patient. So you could tell the patient you have a tumor, but it's not going to kill you. It's something you're going to live with their whole life, or until we cut it out. Or there's different ways to go about it. But it's creatively explaining to a patient so you don't freak them out is also important.
Yeah, I think there's an art to explaining it in layman's terms. I suppose that again is experience of how do people perceive these words in the first place. If you say tumor, it could mean something different to a medical expert than it does to the common person going into an office.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's even with doctors referring to us, they don't understand when sometimes we use strict terminology, exactly what it means. So we have to kind of lay it out, like, oh, this is a tumor that really doesn't grow very much, and it's a benign tumor. For instance, it's a fibroadenoma. It's a small growth of tissue that, if it's bothering the patient, you can cut it out. If it's not, you can leave it in, and you can watch it over time. It doesn't change.
And you mentioned as well that before, when you're talking before, technology is a big thing for you as well. You enjoy technology.
I do. I enjoy. I think why I went into radiology is, it was at that time was on the cutting edge of computers. Computers were up and coming through the 60s and 70s, and as we know, with our own personal computers, our own personal cell phones, our personal lives, how it's changed over the last 20, 30 years. It seems like every other year there's something else. There's now there's Zoom. We get to talk around the world, easy. So it's done that with radiology and imaging. When I first got into it, we were taking images of patients with more standard X-ray, which is a piece of film that goes in a cassette, much like a piece of film we used to put in a camera. And you'd have to develop it by taking it out of the imaging, out of the camera, and you have to take it to the dark room and dip it into chemicals and develop the film. And it would take a big process. Nowadays, we're so used to the digital, and that happened in radiology. Everything became digital, everything became computerized, everything became more sophisticated, and it's amazing how we can see inside the body these days. It's almost kind of like a Star Wars, Star Trek type imaging, that we can see everything, and we can find out a lot more about what's going on with the patient than we could 30 years ago, for sure.
What do you think fascinated you about computers when you saw them first? Like, what was the draw to them that was something different?
I just think they can help us with their ability to manipulate the data in ways that we can't really do, with our human mind, and with our ability on an analog, on a paper scale. You'd have to have stacks of paper and stacks of images around you to look at. The computer manipulates them and puts them on top of each other and blends them over each other. And you can fade them in and fade them out, and you can do all kinds of things manipulating the image to see what's going on. And we couldn't get it anywhere near that without a computer's guidance and computer programming. So I'm amazed how much it's helped with medicine, and the whole hospital is run off of computers these days.
Yeah, so you have to be on top of it, don't you?
Yeah.
And then, like, you came from a marine biology background. You were first in marine biology. What's it been like now? I suppose with the books, you're probably exploring that aspect now of you again, are you?
Yeah. I find it fun and kind of like a vacation from the medicine, vacation from a hospital where we're seeing a lot of sick people. It's I can come home and work at home on something that is more friendly and fun, and we're making books for children, and I'm bringing in some of my marine biology background, is what I did before I went into medicine. And it's something that I don't practice every day. I don't walk to the beach and start analyzing crabs or anything like that. But I did do that in the past, and so I think I can bring a unique science knowledge of marine biology to children with the children's book, and it brings me joy doing that, because it's so fun and friendly, and it's kind of a meditation and a release of not really being so stressed out. It's not life or death situation. It's all in good nature and fun.
So it's like a meditative. Is it? Do you find yourself getting into flow when you're working on that?
In a way, yeah. When I get involved with one of our projects, it turns into kind of a mixture of fun, a mixture of work, and there's a little bit of flow in between there, because you get excited about the next step. Once you complete one part of it, it's like you want to see it come to fruition. You want to see the next step. You want to see the next drawing. You want to see the next the next page, and figure out if it all fits together. I think there is a flow to it, and I kind of have to turn that flow off when I go back into the hospital. Going back into the hospital, and I turn on the hospital hat and start working there. And I know that my creative stuff back at home is still waiting for me when I get there. It's kind of like I have two different hats I wear there.
The marine biology, like where did the drive come from? Like what fascinated you about marine biology in the first place?
I think I grew up in California. I grew up near the ocean, grew up on the coast, and we had always been going down to the ocean. Near our home, there's kind of a rocky coastline with some cliffs, and if you go to the bottom of the cliffs, it's a rocky coastline. Excuse me.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, where I live, there's a rocky coastline, and if you go down the cliffs, there's small beaches in between the rocky outcroppings, and in the rocky outcroppings, they turn into tide pools. So as the tide goes out, these rocky crevices hold water, and we would always go down. My mom would take us down there on the low tide, and we'd walk around the tide pools, and you could look inside the tide pools and you see a little bit of a glimpse of what the bottom of the ocean looks like. You'd see a sea anemone, you'd see some fish swimming in and out, you might see a crab, you might see an octopus, you'd see all these little animals just living on the edge of the water. And so that kind of started out as a young boy doing that. And my mom would take us to a local museum here in the Los Angeles area that had a bunch of marine animals, and we would learn about them from the director of the museum there. And I think that sparked my interest in it, and I just wanted to continue that. Once I got out of high school and I went to college and university, I wanted to learn more about the ocean, and so it took more formal training in it, and it went from there.
Because you reached a stage there where we weren't able to pursue it any further. That's when you went back into medicine again. But
Yeah, I decided after doing the marine biology for a while. I actually spent 3 years in Hawaii. I was working for a shrimp farm out there, and my family was always in medicine. My mother was a nurse. My father was a doctor. My brother became a doctor. So it was always in our family, and I was kind of doing something different. And I think after doing it for a while in Hawaii, I decided that I would give medicine a try. I could always come back to marine biology, but I thought I was young enough where I wanted to continue getting education, and maybe saw that medicine was a more stable career, as far as being able to, live and work in California and afford a house and things like that. I think I put on a realistic hat and said, if I can get a stable profession, I think I'm going to be better off than being a marine biologist that might be scraping by and trying to live off of live out of the back of my car or something. I don't know.
yeah, so as well, is it fair to say you worked on, like, I guess medicine is giving you stability there and structure, and then now these opportunities that present themselves to maybe revisit marine biology and do it in a creative way. It's a bit different.
Yeah, because I agree with that. I don't think I would have thought of going back to marine biology for a profession, but I think I can use marine biology in a creative way when we are creating these children's books. And I like having both. I like having both. I can use this to our advantage and hopefully teach some kids about the ocean a little bit.
And so next I want to delve into is so you're working in a team. So you've got Lisa, Davies doing the imagery, and then you're there with the marine biology background and helping out as well. Like, how does that actually look in the collaboration process? Just you can describe that a bit.
Well, we all tend to work independently on our strengths. And Davey's an amazing artist, and he will draw almost anything. He'll draw it more cartoon like. He can make it completely, fantasy, but he can also draw very realistically. And so you'll see the book that we have. We let Davey have some creativity on each page, and some pages are very realistic on the drawing, and then others have kind of a combination of realism, and then they have a little cartoonish, and they have a kind of a both, kind of to play on the young playfulness and happiness of the book. So he does that. Lisa is more about the she's got expertise in writing. She's got expertise in production and formatting, and so she brings a lot of technical stuff on creating children's books to the table. Myself on the marine biology is just bringing ideas of of bringing the marine world into the children's world, and I will come in with an idea of I want to highlight something on a like a sea turtle. Let's do something about sea turtles, and I really like them for these 5 reasons. And they might not necessarily know that. We can all look it up, but I kind of direct it in that way and fact check it. If we got something that doesn't make sense, I'm kind of like, oh, let's rewrite that a little bit just to make it more layman's or more children's happy and friendly. So I wouldn't say we're sitting in the same room doing everything at the same time. We're more submitting our own ideas, and everyone's bouncing off and working in their own direction, and it all comes together in the end. And that's what we're in the process of now. We've got the words, we've got the pictures, and now we're just trying to format it and make a good product out of it for a book.
So it's like a sense of autonomy, I suppose, in what you're working as well. Everybody kind of knows what they need to do and work on, I guess, is it?
Yeah. And in this world with the technology that we have, and we each have our own job. Our artist Davey has a job that he does, so he doesn't work on this 24 hours a day. He either works at night or whenever he has free time. Same with me. I'm mostly in the hospital, and I only get to work on this. If I get a break at the hospital, I can log in and do a little bit, but mostly it's when I'm off in the evenings or on a weekend, and on my kind of spare time, on my side time. Lisa does this more full time because she's running a children's book empire and has many things going on in all directions. So she's always doing this.
So the other thing that comes to mind is, I suppose, somebody who'd be in your situation, that they're a radiologist that are working in a hospital, and they might think, I'd love to be doing something a bit more lighthearted or something that's a bit more driven by my passion. But I just don't find the time. So how has that played out in your experience?
Well, for me, you make time. You make time because it is so rewarding. I think if we're in a stressful profession, if we go home after that stressful job and we don't have something passionate that we can work on, I think the stress can eat away at you. You can just kind of get sucked into it, and you may start regretting your job if you're under too much stress. So I know my work is stressful. I try and have a lighthearted attitude when I'm not in that situation. And I think having a second, a second creative thing, a second release, something else that will get you out of that is very important. It's just like a hobby. If you've got an outdoor hobby that you like to do, you like to go bike riding, you like to go hiking, you like to go skiing, that's so important, to get out. It's kind of meditative, to get your mind away from your normal job. Not that you're not wanting to think about your normal job, but I think it's good to have something else. So this is one of this creative aspect that I do is kind of like a hobby that I can put my mind to, and it really helps me overall. Especially with COVID, where we've been shut in, we haven't been able to get out. We haven't been able to socialize as much as we would like. We haven't been able to, go out and see as many of our friends or travel. So we have to find other creative ways to occupy our mind, and I think this has really worked out well this year, where I would come home and work with Lisa on the children's books, and really gets my mind relaxed doing that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, as a radiologist, somebody working in a hospital, how did you find the year with COVID, and did this help in any way working on this project on the side?
Well, yeah, it did help. It did help with this. The radiology has been up and down. It all depends on how busy our hospital is. There were times when we were ready for the wave of patients to hit the hospital, and kind of cleared out the hospital waiting for it, and it didn't come. So we really didn't have as much business. We didn't have as many people in the hospital at that time. And so it was kind of slow. And then other times, like right now, we are under a complete different situation where the hospital is, nearly, 1/3 full of the COVID patients, and the ICUs are completely full, and we see them every day, the whole hospital is under a stress level that I've never seen before. So it's gone from not that bad to very stressful around everyone there. Everyone has to walk around in masks and face shields and coverings, and you don't want to touch any patients without having all the gear on, and it just raises everyone's awareness. I'm happy that the vaccine is out. I know a lot of the people in my medical center have gotten the vaccine, and it has helped reduce some of that stress. Nothing's 100% perfect, but I think it's taken the edge off a lot of the workers in the hospital if they've had the vaccine.
How do you deal with stress? Do you have any kind of insights that help around stress?
I think when you're, I think everyone has their own way to deal with it. I think my way is hopefully not to get overly stressed out where you can lose your sense of calm. I usually have a sense of calm with stress, and try and put a little humor into it. When we're not under so much stress at the hospital, joke around with the nurses or the techs that are working with me, and keep it lighthearted. In really stressful situations, keeping calm is the best way. And I think everybody has a different way of handling it. I like I said, it's just, it kind of bottles up though in you if you are kind of suppressing it all day long. So when you get home, it's nice to have a release. It's nice to go bike riding. It's nice to be able to go hiking or skiing, or put your mind into something like my marine biology children's book project. It's good to kind of de-stress your mind by doing something that makes you happy.
Do you find the bit of humor helps with problem solving? Because sometimes I find when I'm stuck in a problem, the more stressed out I am, the less likely I am to actually solve the problem.
Yeah, definitely. That's absolutely true. It's not like you're going to go around telling jokes. But I think especially if you can kind of laugh at things that aren't going well, or not going perfect, it's like, it's one of those things, and your mind will be a little more calmer to make the next step. And if you make that next step to correct something that wasn't going right, then you've made the right choice. Yes, you're not laughing to make fun of somebody or something. You're kind of, I think if you kind of make it lighthearted, you're right, your mind will settle down, and you will get a more calm, happy mindset, and then you can step to the next level. Kind of like mindfulness meditation. You can just kind of say, oh, that's a funny thing, boom, it just that's a stressful thing that just came by, like a stress cloud that's going to pass. That cloud's going to pass, and the sun's going to shine right behind it. You make that joke and make that sunshine. The sun shines on you. Your brain calms down. The next step is perfect. Or you're back on track.
Yeah, I find it's when I manage to laugh at myself when it's the most serious, like when I'm really, really kind of stuck in it. And oftentimes that's not something that I can do to myself. It's just like I think it's because of practices like mindfulness or meditation. Sometimes I catch myself taking something seriously that I'm like, why am I taking that seriously? And I laugh. But
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah, sometimes I like just to change of pace. If something's really stressing me, I'll just say, okay, we got to just take a break. Just step back from the computer. Go for a walk. Go get a cup of coffee. Go get a snack. Go chat with somebody a little bit that's not about what you're dealing with, and then go back to it. And when you sit back down to do it again, it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. And then you finish it up.
What have you learned about collaboration in your creative process with working with Lisa and working with Davey? What have you learned about that?
I've learned that without really strong communication, everyone can have their own ideas of the direction we're going, and each idea might be correct. but they could be three different directions. Lisa could think the idea is going straight up, and Davey wants it to go left, and I want it to go to the right. Each way is totally correct and it's right, but it's like we've only got one book. So do we with communication, we can just say, hey, let's stop and talk about this, and let's say, maybe we don't want to go left, we want to go to the right, or maybe we want to make it so they're all included. So collaboration, I think, helps when there is good communication, for sure. And if we work too much independently, we do run into problems where we get too much work done in one direction, and we have to kind of reverse it and go, oh, no, that's too many words, or that's too many pictures, and we have to cut it back. So I think to work efficiently, the collaboration has to have very good communication right up front.
Do you think, is there like a general understanding of the general direction this is going in? Because like, if it's
not necessarily, I think we have a general, we know the final product of for instance, on our marine biology children's book is the book itself. With the goal is to teach children something about ocean animals, teach them in a fun, happy, easy to understand way, and those goals are always there. So we all got those goals. It's how we achieve it. Sometimes that we'll put in too many words, and Lisa will have to edit it down and say, no, we don't want to say all that. We want to keep it simple. So I think that we all have an idea where it's going. Sometimes we have different ideas. And I think if we're not sitting in the same room, the more often we communicate, the better. We're always on a text to each other. We're always doing, short phone calls with each other on which direction we want to go. And Lisa pretty much controls that or covers that. She manages all of that.
That's a good point. I feel like that's kind of the values are driven by there. Like, it needs to be simple, fun, and playful, and educational. Like, that would steer.
Yeah, I think especially, we're in a very serious world these days. Yeah. We have so much seriousness, and it trickles down into our kids. With all this stuff at our fingertips, the kids are getting more serious at a younger age, and so I think we still want to kind of put the brakes on that and keep things fun, and not water it down so much that we're not giving real science, but make it a real fun, happy thing that they're laughing along with the book and not really knowing that they're learning something that's actually real.
Yeah, I like that. Like, I find as an adult, it's the balance between seriousness to the extent that you're learning real stuff and you're improving, yet playfulness so that you've got perspective that life is meant to be enjoyed. How do you find that balance in your life?
Well, I think I always have the playful attitude, and I more have to turn down my playful attitude to concentrate on more serious stuff. I think, and I can put my mind in that time frame of when I'm entering the hospital. It's kind of like it's game on. I've prepped for it. I've done my exercises. I'm ready for it, and I'm gonna go do a workout. I'm gonna get this done, and I know that when I'm done with this serious stuff, I can get back to my normal playfulness and my normal happiness. And like I said before, and bring happiness along with me. I think I'm more normally a happy person.
Yeah, that's good. You didn't ever like follow the balance there, did you? Where you were like went months in a few years where it was just too serious and you realized life is too serious.
No, I see that in other people though. I see where you're asking. But I see it in my colleagues, and I see it in other people in other professions. They're just so focused on their career. They're focused on the career, hyper focused on the career. That is their thing. Maybe that makes them happy, but it seems like they're kind of so focused on it that they can get miserable with it. And it's like you don't want to just shake them and say, all right, let's stop for a minute and just smile, and not take it so seriously. I know we're in a very serious business, but you gotta lighten up a bit. And I'll see that in my colleagues, and you can't change them, but you can recognize it in them. And I recognize it in them, and I realize that I prefer to have a little bit more lighthearted attitude on the other side. And maybe if I'm working with them and I had a lighthearted attitude, it can wear off a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. I think you pick it up through like osmosis after a while.
Yeah, because I with the people I work with, the nurses and the techs in the hospital, I can see that, and they're working with other doctors that have different personality styles. And let's say they're working with one of our doctors that is more stressed that day. They'll talk to me the next day and they'll go, "Oh, yesterday was really, really difficult." And I'll ask them, I'll say, "Well, why was it difficult?" And they like, "What was wrong? Were the patients hard? Were the cases hard?" And kind of what they give to me is like, "No, just working with, so and so was hard. They made it stressful, And so I'll go in there on the day after and have the same patients, the same caseload, the same procedures, similar, and kind of get the same work done. But my team around me is in a happier mood because I'm not yelling at them. I'm not stressing them out. So if you have your team around you that's not stressed out, it makes the day so much better. And at the end of the day, they're like, "That was a great day." And you're like, "Yeah, but we did the same patients as you did the day before." So your attitude can be contagious to the people around you. That's obvious. And it's in the work environment, it's contagious to the people that you're working with. And if you are bringing a stress attitude, they're going to be stressed too, and that's going to affect your whole day. So, and same thing when we're home. We notice that when we're home, if we have a lighthearted, happy attitude when we're done with work and we're at home, everyone's happiness level raises, and it just makes the household attitude much better.
Yeah, like over the years, what I found challenging are people who have got this belief that you need to put people under pressure for them to perform. I've always found that challenging. Have you ever faced that yourself, and have you had to overcome that?
Well, I think I can see that. I mean, I see both sides. I'm not like strict. You have to have that. Sometimes the stress or the challenge. We won't say stress. We'll just say a challenge. Strives, pushes you to a boundary where maybe you've never gone before. And if you can get through that challenge, it might be hard to get through, but once you're done with it and you sit down and you reflect after and you're like, "Wow, that was really tricky, but I stood up and I did it, and we had a good outcome." Or maybe we didn't have a good outcome, but the struggle was worth it. Sometimes I believe it. The struggle can make you stronger if you can reflect on it, and it can make you more prepared for the next time something like that shows up. So I think if you do have a life or a job or whatever you're working on, and there's no struggle and there's no challenge, yeah, I think you will kind of stay at this even level, and you might be happy, yeah, but sometimes just challenge yourself. Even if you fail, challenge yourself. You fail or you succeed, it makes you a stronger person, and you can relate that into a happier person as well, because you have given it your try. It's good to try things.
I suppose in my life, it's I find it's the actual skill level. So in programming, you're given different tasks according to your skill levels that you're always improving. I find there's stress in that because you're confronted with a new problem. What I find not helpful though is communication stress with other people, where it's like it feels like you're being attacked for no reason. That's the kind of where I feel like that goes to chronic stress, and it's just like not helpful to anybody. But I think, is it eustress? Is that a term where it's like good stress for yourself?
Well, I think so. Yeah. I mean, in a way. I mean, if it's a challenge, I don't want to use the word stress, but it's good to challenge.
Yeah.
If you're for instance, if you're working out in the gym and you were going to, lift some weights and do some exercise, if you're only lifting, 5-pound weights all the time, you're going to feel fine. Your muscles won't get sore, and you're not going to, you're not going to get very fit. You'll just stay kind of there. But sometimes you got to pick up a heavier weight, and you feel it. You start feeling it in your bones and your muscles. You don't want to overdo it to hurt yourself, but you've got to give a little bit of challenge to your body. And I think that's the same with your mind. You got to challenge your mind a little bit so that you'll raise to the next level, and yeah, you don't want people around you on the opposite way. We were talking earlier about how, if my attitude is positive on a given day, the people around me and the workers around me have a positive attitude, it kind of bleeds over. The same thing, if they've got this negative attitude, and you're the positive feature, sometimes you have to counteract that, or sometimes it makes it hard, in that environment, if the people around you are so negative. And maybe that's the challenge. Maybe that's the challenge in that situation. It's like, okay, today I'm putting this challenge. Patients aren't challenging, but my work environment is challenging because of my coworkers are challenging me. And so you got to, figure out a way to deal with that. And maybe if you can, turn the day into a positive, that's the best you could hope for, and go from there.
Yeah, it's like small wins and seeing it as a challenge. I think that's
the small wins. Yeah.
No, that's good. No, it's good talking to you today, Chris. I like talking a bit about the science and the creativity, and just learning more about what you're doing today with Lisa and Davey. I like what you're doing, the collaboration process, and just putting work out there that's playful and educational.
Yeah. Thank you. I enjoy it, and I hope to make many more books and bring a different expertise and a way of looking at things than what else we have. And I'll bring my 2 cents into it.
Yeah, bit of innovation. So where will people find the book when it's online?
Well, we always have it on Amazon. We will have it on Amazon, and we'll have it through Lisa's webpage, which is the unicornjazz.com. This Ocean Animals book is part of the Unicorn Jazz series. And it may not be a character book, where the Unicorn Jazz books are kind of telling a story, and they always have some theme of goodness and happiness and singing songs and things like that. And this is in that realm, but it's going to be more. I'm bringing a little bit more science to it. So it's going to be in the Unicorn Jazz series, but not a story. It's going to be the book is using haiku poems to kind of give a haiku poem riddle of what the sea animal we're going to talk about. It'll say, something about plankton, and then it'll show pictures of plankton, and the bottom will be plankton at the final.
I've seen I was just saying I've seen haiku poems online, but I don't know a lot about them. What's a haiku poem?
Oh, a haiku poem is a traditional poem that has 3 different lines, and in each line has a different amount of syllables. So the first line is 5 syllables, the second line is 7 syllables, and the third line is 5 syllables. So 5, 7, 5. And it's not the amount of words, it's the amount of syllables. So like one of our words in there is camouflage. So camouflage, that's 3 syllables. So camouflage is 3 syllables. So you just have to keep the syllable count in each line to 5, 7, 5. And we even have a song. We made a song about haiku poems and 5, 7, 5, and that's going to be released soon with the book. And so we're not only, this book is great because it's not just all about science. It's about, we're teaching you a form of literature and poetry. And it's a fun fact-filled and fun book that is going to be pretty fun to go through as a kid.
Cool, combining science and art. No, I like
that.
Perfect.
Yep.
Cool, Chris. Thanks for taking the time out today. Wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dennis.
Thanks again for listening. All right,
love to come back again, and maybe we'll talk again about different other things. I'll bring you some different insights on things if you like.
Yeah, I'm always open to insights around the arts and sciences and that. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right,
No
Chris.
problem.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Until next time, have fun and enjoy the process.